a while ago, the best laid plans can go awry because everybody else has got their plans and everything clashes. So we come into the body. Now, you have two choices when you're going to come back into the body. First, you're assigned to this body, this baby that's going to be developing here. You pick your parents. You can't blame it on anybody else. And I hear kids all the time saying, I didn't choose to be born into this family, and I didn't write this script. You do. For whatever reason, maybe other lifetimes, maybe karma, you choose your parents. You choose the circumstances you'll be born under. Rich, poor, whatever. What country? What is the best environment for me to fulfill what I'm supposed to do? What kind of social structure should it be? Where should I do this? You make all those plans when you're deciding to come back, as well as the plans with all the other people you'll be meeting with. Even someone who is adopted knows this when they come in. They choose the parents for the biological body that they're going to be going into, the features and everything. And they also know the ones who's going to adopt them, who will raise them. So this is all planned out beforehand. But then I say sometimes things can go wrong too, but it's set up that way. This is the parents who will give me the biological body. These are the ones who will raise me. So this is all planned before you ever come into the lifetime. You're going, okay, I'm going to bring this in now before I forget it, because sometimes things just go zip right through my mind here. Okay, there are more souls in line for the handicapped bodies than for the normal bodies. Can you understand why? Why are there more souls in line for the handicapped bodies than for the normal bodies?
People are always asking for a healthy job.
You can repay more karma by being in a handicapped body than you can in a normal body. Look what you teach other people, besides what you're learning yourself. And a lot of time it is karma. Maybe you've hurt people, and this is one way you get rid of so much at one time. But what do you teach the people who take care of you? Whether it's your parents or if it's your caretakers, if you're in an institution, you're teaching people something by being in a handicapped body. But also, what do you teach everybody you come in contact with? Everybody who sees you. Everybody's learning a lesson of some kind. How do you react when you see somebody in a wheelchair? Or you see a retarded child? Or somebody without arms or legs? How do you react? That's what they're teaching everybody you come in contact with. That's how they're repaying huge amounts of karma back. And you must remember, they chose that for a reason. Sometimes it's the parents. There's all kinds of ways this can intertwine. I always think when I see somebody like that, I always think, gee, you really picked a hard one this time, didn't you? Because you begin to see it from a different viewpoint. Now, when you are born, too, especially when you come into a life, you have to be everything before you're finished. One life cannot possibly do it. There's so many lessons you have to learn. I'm not even going to go back into the animals and all of that, because you have to be everything before you're finished. But if you understand we're all a part of everything, it makes us respect the earth more. It makes us take the environment more seriously, the ecology, because we're all interconnected with the earth. Earth is a living being. Everything is interconnected. All of our souls, all of our spirit, everything is all working together. But anyway, when you come into a human body, after you've had these other ones, you come direct from source. Maybe I better go back to that first before I get into what's it like to be born. But you come direct from source. I have had so many people now who are going directly back to God instead of going to past lives or going back to the beginning. And I've got a whole section on this in the new book that I'm writing. But they say it's time for us to know these things. When they go back to the source, it is beautiful. It's this huge light. And it is so wonderful. They're all together. And they said it's love beyond anything you can possibly imagine. The love and compassion there is just so wonderful, they don't ever want to leave. They're all together, and that to them is all they want. But in the very, very beginning, God wanted to learn. He wanted to know. He wanted to experience. And when he did that, he burst out. A lot of people think this goes along with the Big Bang theory and the scientists of the beginning of the universe. He burst out, and when that happened, all of these particles and sparks flew out in all different directions. Some of these sparks and particles became galaxies, universes. Some of them became planets. Other ones became your individual souls. When you take it all the way back to what you really are, it's just a tiny little spark. That's what we call the spark of life. That's all you really are in the beginning. And you were sent out to learn, to experience. Learn it all and then bring it back to God, bring it back to source. That's why there's no bad, there's no good, it's just experience. I tell people everybody has something bad that happens in their life. This is normal, we all do. But what did you learn from it? Think about it. If you learned even one thing, that was the reason for the whole thing. Everything is about experience. It's all about learning. What do you get out of it? So what we are learning through countless lifetimes in accumulating all this information, we will eventually return full cycle and take it back to God. That's the ultimate, when we all return back to where we started out. But we began on our journey, these little tiny sparks, and we have to learn everything. That means everything. You've all lived on other planets, you've all lived in other dimensions, you've had bodies that are just like light with just soul energy. You've been animals, you've been plants, because we have to experience everything. We have to know what it's like. We have to accumulate the information. So when we finally get to the point we're going to come into a human body, you have to be male and female many times. And I usually have men that get upset when I say that. They get angry. They say, "What do you mean? I've always been a man. I've never been a woman." But what would you learn if you were always just one sex through many lifetimes? The spirit doesn't have a sex anyway. It's neutral. It's all about experience. If you had always been a man or always been a woman, you would never know what the other was all about. You wouldn't know the balance. This is one reason I've found for homosexuality. They have been one sex too many times in other lifetimes. They come into this life as the opposite sex. They're uncomfortable. They don't know what feels. They don't know how to deal with it. You hear people saying, "I feel like I'm a woman trapped in a man's body." That's why, because it's maybe the first time they have attempted that. If you understand these things, it causes so much more understanding, I think, with people. But anyway, you have to be male and female many times. You have to try it all. See, you are not a body. You have a body. This is just a suit of clothes you're wearing right now. Just a costume in this play. No matter how much you like it, like any suit of clothes, eventually it's going to wear out. When it wears out, you're going to have to throw it away. Then you just get another suit of clothes for the next role you're going to play in the next play. You see what I mean? That's why it's so unimportant when you really start thinking about that. You just get rid of one and get another one. So, as you go through this, you have to be male and female many, many times. You have to be rich and poor. You have to live on every continent in the world. You have to be every religion in the world. You have to be every race in the world. You have to know what it's all about. You can't do that in one lifetime. It's pretty hard to do. And I think if people realize this, there wouldn't be the prejudice, there wouldn't be the judging that we experience, because the very thing they are prejudiced against, the religion or the race or whatever, may be what they're going to come back as next time. Karma goes around, comes around. You spend too much time judging one race, one religion, one class, you're going to have to come back and do that to see what it's like. Doesn't that make more sense? Goes around, comes around. There's no getting out of it. If we understood that, I think it would take away a lot of the prejudice, a lot of the judging we do. It would certainly have a lot to do with stopping wars. If we understand we're all just part of this whole thing. I had one client who was a black man, and he went back to a lifetime where he was a gladiator in Rome, and he was killing, the people. You know how they do in Rome in the Roman days. His job was just for sport to kill everyone, and he didn't like it. He wanted out of it. He was tired of the killing. But guess who he was killing in the arena? They were black slaves that had been brought in for Africa. So he comes back as a black man. See, it balances. Everything has to balance out. I think if you understood that, we'd all be a lot kinder to everybody, because, like I said, we leave, we see what it's like from the other people we were involved with. We understand the rules of reincarnation. It makes so much sense. I wish the church hadn't taken it out. Originally, every religion in the world had reincarnation as its basis. It did. Every religion in the world had reincarnation and its principles as its basis. Then, as time went on, man came in, began to make rules and regulations and changing everything around, and they took a lot of it out of the Christian religion. Some of it's still there, but it makes so much sense. When you understand these things, I think you can put it all together and it makes so much sense. The rules are so clear. Okay, we're coming down almost to 3:30. I want to begin to have you ask questions, but I want to take you through the birth experience next. So you're getting ready to come into the life with your nice little plan. This is what I got to do. Don't want to make the same mistakes again. I don't want to goof up. I want to do this and get out of here. Even though your guides may have told you, you're piling too much on your plate. But still, you're stubborn. Well, I can do it. So you're coming in. All right. You've been assigned to that baby because that was your contract. I picked my parents, I picked my circumstances, I know my country, I'm going to be born, and I'm going to come into this family. So you're assigned to that baby because you've made your contract. But they don't like being in the fetus. Imagine a free spirit have to be suddenly cramped into a tiny little growing, developing a baby. I've had them say that. They'll say, I've got arms that are going to be arms, I've got legs that are going to be legs, but they don't like it because it's too cramped. They don't have to stay in the fetus the whole 9 months. The baby lives off of the mother. It is connected to the mother. It does not have to have the developing soul in the fetus until it's born, because it is living off of the mother. It's moving, it's existing, but the mother is what's keeping it alive. So sometimes they're there, or they're going back and forth to the spirit side, but they don't have to be in the body until they're finally born. So I've had mothers tell me that when they're pregnant, they see shadows in their house sometimes. And I said, all that is the spirit that's going to be coming into the baby, and it's just hanging around, waiting for its turn. A lot of them, when I take them back, they know everything that the mother is thinking. They know everything that's going on in the house because they're right there the whole time. But they don't need to be in the body. Now, when you go to have the baby and you're going through the birth experience, the soul has two choices of how it wants to be born. If it wants to experience being born, it'll go into the fetus before it's born. And they don't like it. Believe me, it's not a comfortable experience. But if they want to say, well, I've done that, now next time we'll do it this other way, they can. Because I've had them going through the birth experience. There's a lot of pain and pressure on the head. There's pressure on the shoulders. Sometimes they can't breathe. It's a very uncomfortable experience. But if that is what they want to experience, they will go through the birth process. It's a choice. The other choice is to wait till the baby is born and then enter the soul. Because as long as it's still connected to the mother, it's all right. The minute it disconnects from the mother, it must have the spark of life in it, or it'll be stillborn. So it has to enter usually within so many minutes after the baby's born, or it's too late. It has to get in there. And I've had some of them, the baby's born and they're sitting, I don't know if I want to go. I don't know, do I really have to go? Still trying to back out at the last minute. Do I really have to do this? I don't know, I'm changing my mind. Maybe I'd rather stay on the other side. And their guides are right there saying, no, you signed the contract, you got to go. Now you go now. And they're pushing them into the body. But a lot of them are having a lot of last-minute regrets. Do I really want to do this? And that's what happens sometimes when they have a hard time getting the baby to breathe. It's the last-minute holding back. But then they do enter the body and they are born alive. Okay. So, if you ever notice with babies, they sleep a lot, especially up until 2 years old. There's a lot of sleeping going on. This is because when they're asleep at night, the soul is still going back and forth to the other side, getting last-minute instructions, meeting with their guides and guardians, and things like they don't want to stay in that any longer than they have to. But it comes a point they have to. This is another reason why you go out of your body every night. You still like being connected to that other side. So they go in and out, and they sleep a lot up until they're about 2 years old. And if you notice too, this is one of the reasons the knowledge is taken away, but in the beginning the baby can't talk. Even if it remembered anything, it can't tell you anything. It's very frustrating. And it has to take 2 years to get the body to talk, to move, to be able to walk. And by that time it's so concentrating on the body that everything else fades away anyway. So by the time they're about 2 years old, they're really set in the body and everything's going to be okay. Now, sudden infant death syndromes are just, it changes his mind. Says, this is not what I thought it was going to be. This is not the circumstances I wanted to be born into. I changed my mind, so I'm breaking the contract and I'm out of here. And in the meantime, maybe the parents and everything have learned something from this. No experience is ever lost. There's always a lesson in everything that happens.